Welcome to the Kiwimana Bay. Hi, this is episode 119 of our beekeeping show, Beekeeping Bonanza 2018.
That's right, and we are Gary and Margaret. We love honeybees. We are kiwimana, and we are beekeepers who live in the Waitakere Ranges on the wild west coast of New Zealand. And Happy New Year!
Wild west coast of Auckland in New Zealand. You know how big New Zealand is? Kiwimana is a place where the beekeeping community can share a conversation and connect. And in this episode, we talk about rescuers fight through swarms,
7 queen bee facts that will amaze you,
and what's looking good.
Yes, we also, if that isn't enough, we build and sell beekeeping supplies and equipment. We teach beginner beekeepers and provide beekeeping services and advice. We're also the Bee's Knees Club on Facebook.
Yeah, so great to have you joining us today. We hope you had a great festive season and a very happy new year. We appreciate that you have taken the time to join us today, and thanks so much for being part of the Kiwimana buzz. And did you get that, Gary, being part of the... Yeah, okay.
Yes.
And yeah, we've also been known to go off on a tangent about, one or two things maybe.
Exactly. So, Beekeeping Bonanza.
Yes.
It's a flaming hot summer here in New Zealand. Temperatures have been epically high.
Epically, Gary, epically high.
And working in the apiary has seen reports of beekeepers losing huge amounts of weight. Enough of that bonanza.
Okay, so what's been happening in the weather in your neck of the woods?
Yes, well, I just want to say Happy New Year to everybody. We had a great break over the holidays, and we had a few people asking us where we were, so we're back.
So is this what's happening at Kiwimana, Gary? What's happening your side of Kiwimana?
Well, over the Christmas break, we had Ben from Ben's Bees came over from Australia, and we recorded a video with him, didn't we? That was put on the YouTubes.
Yep.
And we had a good time that day.
Absolutely.
Had a nice lunch.
And the girls played their part too.
They did. And team member Snow was pretty ill and had to go to hospital, but she's coming right now. That's our dog.
Yeah, she's looking good, and yeah, she's back to normal. Yappy. Oh, yes. Yappy. Do you like how I fit that in?
I did.
You'll find out about the yappy.
And we had visits to customers who had AFB. We've had a few cases of AFB in the area. So we've been visiting lots of different clients and looking at their hives, and we found some AFB in our neighbourhood. There was a report in the media about a apiary that was found with, was it 20 hives, and most of them had AFB, and that was not far from our house, was it?
That was before we signed off for our Christmas break. Yeah, it just means that, what does it mean for us, Gary?
We just got to be vigilant about AFB inspections. But to be honest, we check for AFB every time we do an inspection.
Yeah.
That's the only way we have to do it, because all our apiaries at the moment are under AFB watch, because it means there's been AFB reported in the area.
In 3 different areas, which is pretty huge.
So lots of AFB in the Auckland area at the moment.
And to those of you who don't know it, AFB is American Foul Brood.
Yes, and hopefully if you're lucky enough, you don't have to ever see it in your country. And what's up with you, Margaret?
Me, I got up this morning.
Well, that's a good start.
That's good. And basically today has seen the day start with lots of heavy rain, and our water tank is overflowing. And I put a little video on the Kiwimana Facebook group just showing the water just flowing out of our water tank. And now I look out the window and there it is. Blue skies, sunshine, and all the grass is shiny because of the rain that's been falling, so it's all sparkly.
Yeah, so summer's been hot, but we're also getting a mix of rain, aren't we? So it's good.
Yeah, so there was a moment there where I thought we might run out of water, but we did get some in. So, you imagine what's going on for the bees. So a few people have been ringing about the bees being a bit angry, and I think they're just thirsty.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, anyway, back to what's going on for me at Kiwimana. Well, I loved meeting Ben too, by the way. He was a great guy, and he's from Aussie and he's been doing work over there, and he was talking about that he wanted to help manage hives near ports, eh?
Yeah, interesting. It's a good idea, right, to detect any early signs of disease and stuff.
Yeah, right at those locations where there could be bees coming in on equipment or
containers and
stuff. Yeah. So it was great to show him through some of the hives. We just enjoyed his great enthusiasm for the bees, and yeah, it's good that we could share some tips on what we do, and he found that very interesting about the frame holder too, eh? So,
yeah, that was a funny video, eh? Because on YouTube you can see when people drop off. And you know, we had that funny joke at the beginning.
Yes,
a lot of people dropped off.
Well,
that joke was too much for some people.
Yeah, we're only kidding around, guys, and, you know, we love our Aussie neighbours, as we've said before, and we always have a bit of banter between the two countries, but we're all friends here, that's for sure.
So check out the video and you can see the joke that offended a lot of people.
Oh.
I don't know if it wasn't that offensive, but they dropped off anyway.
It was a bit of a laugh, but, yeah.
But speaking of sentinel hives, I actually spotted one the other day near the container place in Auckland.
Oh, excellent. Well, then that means they are doing some sort of, work.
Yeah, and they look pretty busy too, that hive, because you can actually see it from the train track.
Do you wonder if someone's checking it?
Oh, I'd say so. Because the other day a new nuke appeared there, so someone must be going there.
Oh, excellent. And, I had a great Christmas with family and friends with Gary, and it was quiet over New Year's, and up here on the hill, I think everyone went away because it was so hot, man. That's our last newsletter, eh? Man, we've had some real, up to 33 degrees, which is phenomenal, especially around where we are. The last couple of days have just seen the weather change a bit. So the bees still busy, but with all the heavy rain we had the last couple of days, the bees have been kind of inside. I think today, this afternoon with the sun out, we'll see some cleansing flights going on. Oh, and the other thing we've been seeing a lot of is washboarding. The bees have been going crazy washboarding the front landing boards, backwards and forwards, and a little bit of bearding because of the heat. But it's okay, guys, when they beard, they're not going to swarm and yappy. Oh, no. Another hint for what's coming. Anyway.
Yes. That is the number one question on Facebook forums, that are the bees going to swarm when they're bearding? No.
Okay, well, let's get yappy about that later. And the bees have been really busy. Well, busy as bees. Oh, sorry. Anyway, thoroughly been enjoying this awesome bee season 2017, and excited that this year, which has been, I reckon, probably the most awesomest ever, and that's for you, Lydia.
Banana!
Awesomeness banana for Lydia. And the bees have been going crazy. So, I'm looking forward to extracting that honey so we can share some around this time. And on a personal note, guys, thanks for your kind thoughts at the time of our family loss. It does make you realise how important it is to give thanks and to enjoy those around you. And,
Yes, not good. We had lost one of our members of our family, so it's not good.
And
anyway.
I just say that very happy that I've got Gary's support in this, and yeah. Okay, so let's move on, Gary. So what should you be doing with your bees in New Zealand at the moment?
Oh, I think if you're getting ready to prepare for treatments, if you do that, extracting honey, what would you say? Checking that they've got enough space.
Well, let's put it in context. In New Zealand, we are in the last month of our official summer, according to the calendar. So that means that the bees will still be collecting a lot. And with this rain, I think there'll be a bit more of a nectar flush, as it were, which means that some of the nectar probably will come on. Do you think so?
I think we'll still have a bit more nectar coming in. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because even March and April may stay higher temperatures. But, we all know that once those temperatures start to drop again, guys, you'll be looking at making sure you've given them enough food. And also you'll be looking at the drones probably getting kicked out by the girls. So that's quite a bit of fun behaviour we like to watch. Very sad.
Not fun for the drones.
No, I guess not, but it's funny in the sense that you see this little honeybee girl dragging along this big drone.
Yeah, it is.
And kicking him out. So it looks like a bit of a domestic disturbance. But anyway.
But in actual fact, it's just murder.
Well, it is sad, but it's true, guys. And those of you who didn't extract earlier may want to test your honey here in New Zealand, because we have had some of the things that may cause tootin risk in your area. But that's just a handy hint. And you can easily do that at most laboratories will do tootin testing.
Absolutely. And what about the UK? I've got some information.
And in the UK, what time of the year is it over there for them?
It's winter, and we got a photo from Chris Brown the other day, and he had a kiwimana hat on, and he had a snowman on his shoulder. So it's snowing up in Britmana, up in Sheffield in England.
Oh, that's where the best beekeeper is, isn't he?
Shout out to Chris and Laura and Jasper.
And Maggie.
That's
that's great, guys, and we hope that you guys all are having a nice warm winter. Not too cold, but in the USA we've heard lots of things about flooding and fires and all sorts.
Yes, it's been terrible news out of California. A lot of fires going on, wildfires.
Yeah,
it's terrible news.
That's not good. But you guys will all be coming into the last month of your winter, won't you? So you'll be getting... What will you be getting next, guys?
Exactly.
Spring. So I hope you've all been making all your gear, getting ready for all the swarms you're going to catch and all the bees that you've left wintered over, because that's my dream for you all, to have bees that you keep through winter and survive. And I think the biggest threat that we've found has been damp and varroa. So, this time of the year for us Kiwis, we're looking at... planning for what season, Gary?
We're planning for autumn/winter, aren't we?
Yes. So. Well, you can't have slashing autumn.
No. Okay, blog recap. Pretty quiet over the holiday period, to be fair.
Yeah, but these are the ones that you guys chose last month.
The first one was Summer Awesomeness in New Zealand. That was our last podcast number, episode 118. And just a public apology. We promised in that show we would have the Yappy Bee Man podcast out, but unfortunately life got in the way, and that'll be coming out in February. So it'll be out in a couple of weeks. And guys, just a side note on that, it'll be worth listening to. Yes, absolutely. It's a lot of fun talking to Yappy. Okay, and what was the second top blog post that everyone chose? This one was called The Bees and Your Backyard, What All the Gardening Buzz is About. This was a guest post written by Christy Erickson, and that's an interesting post about how you can help the bees in your back garden. Yeah, I think that is one of the things that I love about beekeeping. You can do so many things to help the bees. Gardening is one of them. What products have you used in our work? Margaret, what have you been using? For me, because it's been such a prolific summer and there's so much honey out there, I've had to use a lot of spare boxes in managing the hives, because the hives are now like 5 high, full depths, and still going strong. So I've been using spare hive boxes and using them to take the load with my frame holder, like I've said, so I can sort through. So I have to get the step ladder. That's the other tool that I've been using. Yeah, some of those boxes have been hives have been quite high, haven't they? Yeah, so I've been using the step ladder to take the frames down, and then the spare boxes to put them in, so I can just manipulate the ones that I want to be drawn more. And to sort of how far the honey production is going and how well they're doing in terms of capping. So it just holds the boxes for me, the frames for me in the boxes, and then I can just take them away. Yes, absolutely. Yes, you got to be very careful with the step ladder and lifting those honey supers, though, because some of them are about 40 kgs.
Yeah, so I don't do that. I just use one frame at a time. But saying that, they're about 4.5, 5 kilos.
Yeah, I know.
So what's that, about 10 pounds or something?
I think so. 8 or 10 pounds. Yeah.
Anyway, so what have you been using while you've been doing your work, Dale?
Well, I've merged two of the hives together. So I've used the newspaper method. And you should never use the political pages because the bees don't like those pages.
So what were you using, the horoscope page?
The
or
classified pages. And the two...
And did you... Oh, sorry. Just when you did that,
yeah.
Did you notice there was more parcels coming in?
Parcels?
Yeah, from the classifieds.
Oh, no, because the bees have their phones been disconnected, remember, after the last incident?
Yeah.
Anyway, I've merged the Gatecrasher 1 hive and the swarm we've got. What's the other swarm called? Steve 2, isn't it?
No, Steve 2's the strongest one, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, sorry. It was called Pittville 1.
Yeah, Pittville was a bit small and wasn't really building up from what you were saying,
Oh,
eh?
they were building up better than the Gatecrasher 1. So,
anyway,
so
it was the Gatecrasher one that you were concerned about?
Yes, the queen wasn't working very well, so I've merged them two together, and I'm going to go back there this weekend and see how they're going.
Okay, so you'll be doing another health check on them, I guess?
Absolutely. Beekeeping news. News you cannot lose.
No, it's not to be abused. But interesting and hopefully helpful to use.
Absolutely. In the top story, this piece of news is brought to you thanks to help of Aaron, Lisa and Chris. And this podcast was made possible by our fantastic patrons. Especially this month, we'd like to thank Graham and Amanda. Graham and Amanda have been supporting the Buzz since 2015. Thank you, Graham and Amanda. Hope all is well with you both.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, guys. And your support's greatly appreciated.
Absolutely. And the first story is a sad story from Western Australia. Rescuers fight through a swarm of bees after a truck carrying hives crashes. A truck containing beehives has overturned on the Brookton Highway in Western Australia. And what's the quote from that one?
Okay, this is a sad story. On the remote stretch of Western Australia's southeast coast between Ravensthorpe and Albany, an early morning call-out to a serious crash is nothing unusual for local emergency service workers. Yes,
and unfortunately this one was an overturned truck with a lot of hives, and the rescuers received multiple stings while rescuing there was a driver and a passenger still trapped in the truck, and unfortunately the driver was killed in the accident, but the passenger was successfully rescued. And the firefighters used protective suits usually used for chemical spills to stop the bee stings. So I just want to say well done to the volunteer firefighters who attended the incident and received all those stings. I mean, the volunteer firefighters are awesome, aren't they? Here and in Australia, they just work for free and they put themselves at risk all the time, don't they?
Our condolences to the families of the driver. We just said that this happened. I'm not sure what the circumstances were, but beside that, it's just very sad to see this happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got some feedback from Gabriel Henry, and it said, sometimes something I'm always aware of when travelling with hives, take it easy and don't drive when tired. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good point, Gabriel, because sometimes we're trying to push ourselves.
I think a lot of times beekeepers, I'm not saying this is the situation here, but they work all day in the heat and then they drive all night driving their hives somewhere, and it's hard work, and they do fall asleep, don't they?
Yes, and what does Anthony say? Anthony McGee.
Almost time here in the US to start the almond migrations for the year. Yeah, well, you guys be careful.
Yeah, keep a thought of that one in your mind if you get tired, guys.
Yeah, if you get tired, just pull over and have a bit of a sleep somewhere safe. Absolutely.
Sam Redmond says, first responders' worst nightmare, I would think.
Yeah, I would think so.
Joyce Kennedy.
Wow, they deserve a medal. Absolutely, Joyce.
So true.
And Matthew Jordan says, too fast, eh?
Yeah, could be. I don't know, but yeah.
It didn't really say what caused it, did it? They just said they lost control, so.
Stephen Stewart says,
been on that road, had mates in Ravi. Oh, that's good, Stuart. Stephen, sorry.
Stephen, so you'd probably know what that road was like, but we'd like to thank Gabriel, Anthony, Sam, Joyce and Matthew and Stephen for your feedback on that one.
Absolutely. And the next story is one that you've been investigating, 7 queen bee facts that will amaze you. This is by Beekeeping Charlotte. And
okay, well, only 7? Queen bees always fascinate me, but here Charlotte shares some facts that will enlighten.
The quote is, "It is very easy to overlook a young virgin queen in a crowded colony. A new queen can look very similar in size to some of the workers. As she matures and progresses into her egg-laying role, she will plump up."
Charlotte goes on to say, "We have a long way to go to unlock all the mysteries of the honeybee." I agree. This article will give you some really fascinating pieces of information, guys, that will amaze you and I think enlighten.
Okay, and did we get any feedback about this? Who was amazed?
Who was amazed? Well, Alan Johnston said the wiggle dance. Not sure that's what the Queen will be doing, but there was some information in there about who's in charge, and you guys should read this article, and that will interest you very much. So, and JC Warner Bees says, "Such amazing little creatures. Thanks for the info." So thanks Alan and JC Warner for their comments on that one, and really good read, Guy. And I purposely didn't put too much information in there because it's well worth reading.
Absolutely. Well, Beekeeping Charlotte's got some great articles, hasn't she?
Yeah, and the next article's called Macquarie Island Gives Scientists a View of Ecosystem Without Bees.
Yes, Macquarie Island is a remote island that is free of bees, and scientists are using it to study an environment without bees. Let's hope this research is never needed. And this island is between Australia and New Zealand, sort of near. It's almost near Antarctica as well, so it must be cold down there. And the quote says, "Imagine a world without bees. Food production chains would falter, and some crops, such as almonds, which rely on bee population, would fail entirely. It is, after all, the birds and the bees that keep things ticking over." That's right. This island's a funny island. It's got no colourful flowers. The flowers are mainly a pale green because the island's main pollinators are flies. So that'd be an interesting place to go for summer, wouldn't it? And lots of flies. Oh, God, that would drive me crazy. Anyway. And this island emerged from the seabed about 600,000 years ago. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And I think you can visit it. Did they never have bees on it at all? Never, ever had bees on it. Oh, that's good, because I was having this in my mind. My mind was just like picturing them going on to the island and killing and massacring all the bees. No. Never had bees. I don't even think people live on it. I think just scientists live on it. Oh, and, okay. Yeah, and they're trying to see what they would need to do to make plants attractive to non-bees like flies and stuff. So that they're trying to test the work. It's a scenario without bees. So yeah, and it's a sad thing that they're having to have a look at that, because I hope that never bloody happens. Yeah, me too. No feedback on that one from our readers, so no worries. Okay, that's interesting. They probably were in shock after reading it. I'd say so. Okay, so and the next story, bees can be left or right-handed. Anyway, I thought this was something new I learnt, but then I realised that bees don't have hands, or do they? Yeah, they do. Their little front feet, they've got little hands. They look like hands. Scientists led by Marielle Ong of the University's Queensland Brain Institute also demonstrate that honeybees can discriminate between the sizes of two apertures while travelling towards them and choose the larger one through which to pass. This behaviour, the researchers suggest, indicates that the insects select for passages through foliage, for instance, that carry less risk of injury. That just sounds like common sense. Well, so bees don't actually have hands, but it's more about movement and health and safety for the girls. That's what I learnt from this article. Oh, okay. So, yeah, it's interesting because they're always testing for safe passage, aren't they? Oh, absolutely. I mean, it makes sense that you go through a big door rather than a little door, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Less likely to get hit with your wing bashing the side.
And they have to manoeuvre themselves very carefully. So, yeah.
So did they do any other research in the article about what their preference is for left and right?
Well, it basically says that they don't choose left or right.
Oh, okay.
So 45% showed distinct bias split equally between those that favoured the left hole and those that preferred the right. So the bias remained even when the two holes were different sizes. The researchers note the transmit time was longer if a bee's intrinsic bias forced it to engage with narrower aperture. So that's what I determined from this, is that it didn't really matter. They were always assessing it for safety, and that carried the less risk of injury. That's what I determined from this one.
So the answer is no. They don't go left or right. It's basically the safety factor, isn't it?
Their travel is all about being safe.
Absolutely. And the feedback from this one, from Jennifer Finnecane, what does she say?
She says, maybe they can be both like me.
Absolutely.
And I had this word come into my mind. And so I looked up the dictionary meaning, because this word ambidextrous came into my mind, and it's an adjective, and it describes able to use the right and left hands equally well. And few of us are naturally ambidextrous, and I suppose that's from the human perspective, but it appears to me that we wouldn't be looking at the safety of it, but the bees would be. So it doesn't matter whether it's left or right. At the end, the percentages were pretty even.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Oh, honey, looks like a good season.
Yes, this is a story in the New Zealand Herald about the bee season is buzzing in Otago. Dunedin beekeepers reporting a huge bumper crop this season.
It is still too early to say for certain, but the buzz around Otago apiarists in this year's honey production season is shaping up to be one of the best in years.
Yes, and that's Dunedin Beekeeping President Brian Pilley. And he's saying the good spring weather's helped, low winds and good amount of rain at nights has been great.
Oh, here. I just think this year's been fantastic. And I was thinking, because the matings did so well for us, I was thinking this is going to be a good year.
Yes, absolutely.
And what's the feedback that we got on that?
We got feedback from Maria Dews, and she says,
yum, beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
That's what we're looking forward to. And we have been lucky enough to catch up with Jim and Jill down in Wellington. And they have given us some of their honey to taste, and it tastes bloody awesome.
Yes, they had a bumper crop, didn't they? They had like 200 kilograms, wasn't it?
Yeah, and how many extractions? 3 extractions. So, yeah, I think New Zealand is really looking good. So this is the result of what we're hearing from beekeepers all over New Zealand. Our girls have also outdone themselves this year, and still to extract. But 5 full depth boxes is a great indicator of things to flow and come to the jar.
Absolutely. We've got some video to process, haven't we, from Jim and Jill, so we must get that done.
Yes, and we're going to interview them, so that'll be a really good podcast, eh?
Yep, I think so. And the next story, which everyone in the world wants to know.
That is how to keep bees calm. And this is Hillary, Beekeeping Like a Girl, and she did this in November and 2017, and she's given some savvy advice here for beginner beekeepers. So what does she say, Gary?
She says a tough one for beginner beekeepers, but it only takes practice. Remember that your bees are animals. Just like any other animals, they'll respond to your energy. If you are nervous around horses or dogs, they respond in kind. Bees are the same way. Master yourself and try to relax when you work your hives.
Okay, and Hillary goes on to say, don't open them in poor conditions. So she's talking about don't open the hives in poor conditions. And she says there are certain conditions beyond the beekeeper's control that will agitate the bees. Bees dislike being opened on cool or windy days, so it is best to avoid inspecting them when the weather is poor. In my experience, they always tend to be grouchy and more defensive when you open them too close to sunrise or too close to dark.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
well, they're getting ready for the night, aren't they?
That's it. And so there's quite a lot of hints in there about how to be calm. What do you do to keep your bees calm, Gary?
Yeah, I would say always be calm and never beekeep when you're angry.
So if you're stressed out or in a bad mood or something, is that what you mean?
Yeah, just sit down and calm down.
Yeah. And I think use the bees to be calm.
Absolutely. And, don't open them in poor conditions or when there's rain forecast. Yeah,
that's interesting because when you find that it's really, like there's a bit of drizzle and stuff, people think, it's all right to open the hive. But actually when there's drizzle and moisture in the air, you're opening the hive up to that risk of getting wet inside. And there's a lot of energy that's taken by the bees to dry out the hive again. So that's another one. But yeah, this is a good article, and Beekeeping Like a Girl from Hillary is some really good advice. So have a look at that, guys. We didn't get any feedback on this one, so awesome.
No, it was interesting, but she said at the bottom there, don't cause vibrations. So she's talking a story about a guy that used to bang on the side of the hive before he started working them, and that would make the bees all angry.
Well, banging on the side, I actually do have my own process. What I do is I light the smoker, make sure it's not too hot, then I puff the front of the hive entrance just a couple of times, not too much. Then I do is a gentle tap, 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 tap on each box. So 2 taps on each box. And my bees seem to be taking that on board, and they seem very calm.
They must be used to your knocking on the door then.
Yeah, I think it is. It's kind of like saying, hi guys, I'm here today. Are you okay with that?
Yep. And one thing I think causes that vibration is, like at my apiary, I've got one hive stand and it's got 2 hives on it. And I think if you're working one hive, you're banging around and knocking things. And then by the time...
Oh, so Snow agrees.
Exactly. And by the time you get to the second hive, they're already agitated because they're all this vibration from the other hives. So maybe it's good to have hives on their own stands.
Oh, I don't know.
What do you think about that?
I've never really given that much thought.
Something to think about then, eh?
Yes, I will ponder that as I watch the girls in the apiary.
This is a new section called What's Your Number One Beekeeping Problem? Because when people join our newsletter, we ask them what their number one beekeeping problem is. And in this section, we're going to try and help them with the problem.
And this is all ad lib, guys, so gosh, I hope I can answer it.
And this month's number one problem is from Manly. And he says, Yellow Jackets attacking my hive is my biggest problem. So he must be from America, calling them Yellow Jackets.
Absolutely.
And so what would you suggest to Manly?
Well, Yellow Jackets can often be an indicator that the hive is weak. So it may not necessarily be weak because of the Yellow Jackets. There may be something going on in the hive itself. So the colony, as soon as it gets weaker, it can be more vulnerable to Yellow Jackets. So my first thought is to step back a bit and look at the state of the hive itself. So when a hive becomes more vulnerable, it's because there may be some issue going on. So they may have varroa or sac brood or some condition that's going on in the hive which is weakening the bee's ability to fight. It also could be a change of season, eh?
Yep. Absolutely, because in New Zealand, what we find is the yellow jackets or wasps, we'll call here common wasps or German wasps, start attacking the bees as the bees are slowing down for winter, which is probably in about a month's time, isn't it? Yeah,
so just clarify to everyone what slowing down means.
It means their population's reducing, they're getting ready, preparing for winter, they're not building as many bees.
Yeah, I think that's true, and when that happens, that's the time of the year that the yellow jackets are building up or the wasps are building up. So that's the second issue.
Yep, absolutely. And so what steps can people do to prevent wasps attacking their hives?
We have different ways of dealing with wasps in our place. We've talked about this before, that they won't be far away. The wasp's nest won't be far away from where your bees are. So how many metres away? 100, 150?
Isn't it 180, 120?
Geez Louise, make up your mind.
I'll check it.
I understood it was around 100 metres, but I don't know how much that is in feet. Is it 300 feet? So they're pretty close to where your colony is. So my advice would be to try and find the nest and kill that completely. Yes,
and there's lots of ways to do that. You can just go and kill it with a bottle of petrol, or you can buy
maybe not a bottle.
Not a bottle. Cup of petrol.
And you don't light it. It's the fumes of the petrol that kills the wasp nest, not a fire. So don't do that, guys. Don't light it.
No, exactly. Don't try this on TV. And yeah, you can do
not your TV in your lounge anyway, because then you got more problems coming on.
And there's other options you can use.
Some people dig it out, but that's craziness.
I think you're just asking for a lot of yellow jacket stings.
Yeah. So you can use that Vespex that we have here in New Zealand. That can be very helpful.
But highly toxic to bees if they happen to use it. But they reckon that doesn't attract bees, but yeah, I don't know.
We don't know about that one. But anyway, Vespex is supposed to be one of the things that DOC are using, and local councils using to eradicate wasps. And this season for us, particularly, we haven't had a lot of wasp issues. There's a few paper wasps around, but they're actually trying to kill the monarch caterpillars, but I managed to kill them, and they're doing well. But yeah, yellow jackets, you can't actually stop them, but you can make sure your hive's thriving and is healthy. So that's the first thing. So make sure they're healthy. Second thing is find the nest of the yellow jackets. Third thing is if you use products like robbing screens, I use them all year round, and as soon as I know the temperatures are dropping and the bees population, because the laying will change when the temperature starts to drop at the end of summer, early autumn, that would be the time that I would put my robbing screens down and keep them restricting the entrance and giving them that fence area to protect the hive. And then behind your robbing screen you could put entrance reduction, but I found that it's better to just leave the robbing screen just more open so that they can fight whatever comes in behind it. So that's my idea, and that's the product that Gary's designed, and we've used it for a few years, and it's definitely helpful.
Absolutely. And if you can't get one of those, you can just reduce the entrance down to like 2 or 3 bee spaces. It gives the hive a bit, make it easier to prevent robbing.
Well, the thing, I agree, but I disagree at the same time, because
you can't disagree with me.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding. Go on.
Well, my thoughts are with that is that when you reduce the entrance down, the pest, which is the wasp, actually can get straight into the hive. So that's where the robbing screen prevents that from happening. They can't just fly straight in, because when you reduce the entrance, there's only one way, and they're going in. So I think that you should have a screen in front of the hive, and with the robbing screen, they propolize behind the screen, so it smells of the hive. Anything coming behind it will mean that the bees will attack it, and that's their guard area, and they consider that part of the hive. Whereas the reducing an entrance doesn't give them any way to fight back. Once the wasp is in the hive, they can do a lot of damage.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
When they've got the robbing screen situation, there's a few guard bees that will actually be able to deal with it, and they can't just go straight in.
Yes, absolutely. The robbing screens are the optimum thing to use, and so we shall have some more of those available soon, won't we, to meet this season?
Okay, so that was Manly's biggest beekeeping problem at the moment, and all the best with that, Manly, and hope we've given you something to think about and consider for your solutions.
Absolutely. And if you want to submit your number one beekeeping problem, you can go to kiwi.bz/num1. NUMONE.
Num1.
Yep. Or leave a SpeakPipe message, or if it's your message, or if your problem is urgent, like kiwimana, my hive bees are in the tree, then visit the Bees Knees Club on Facebook, and that's beesknees.club.
And that will give you a chance to get some response a bit quicker. And we're also at the end of the phone, guys.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, now we've got to the best section, feedback from you guys. And we had a mystery caller. Do you want to listen to it?
Oh, yeah, please.
It's a mystery caller.
Hey, guys. We really like your website. Anyways, greetings from Berkeley, California.
Cool. So from Berkeley in California, they're listening to our podcast, Gary. Can you believe it?
I can't. It's amazing. But they didn't leave their name or email, so I don't know who they are. But thanks, guys. That's awesome that you appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. And, yep, all the best.
Absolutely. And we had a new patron this month. We had Tony and Hazel supporting the Kiwimana Buzz on Patreon. Thank you, guys. That's awesome.
Thanks, Hazel. Thanks, Tony. That's awesome. And is there more to Tony and Hazel than meets the eye?
They're the people that make Joy mead, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. So that's mead in New Zealand. So awesome. Thanks, guys. And, yeah, all the best with your new ventures. What else has been going on, Gary?
Well, we've got a review on the Apple Podcasts, otherwise known as iTunes, but they've rebranded. This review says, outstanding dialogue and meanderings at times on beekeeping. This is a guy called Beekeeping N, 5 stars, and he's in the United States of America. And he says,
have listened to Gary and Margaret providing an array of information and interviews on beekeeping and topics useful to everyone interested in honey, bees, and sometimes politics. Anyway, they always have high energy and entertainment for auditory senses. As an addition, their website has a directory for other podcasts on the subject matter to keep you informed. Look them up and take a listen. I did, and that was on Tuesday, the 9th of January, 2018. So that's very recent feedback.
Yes,
awesome.
Thanks so much, Beekeeper N. And
okay,
that's awesome.
Another mystery.
Yeah, can be. And we had a message on Twitter.
On the Twittering.
Okay, we've got another message here from Tulip Tree Honey, or Adopt a Bee. John is having withdrawal symptoms. No Kiwimana Buzz podcast for 6 weeks. Heard her muttering, come on, Gary and Margaret, you'll never catch up with Beekeepers Corner that way. We're not trying to catch up with Beekeepers Corner.
Beekeeper Kevin. Interesting.
But thanks for that's awesome. That has prompted us to record another podcast. So
quietly, there is no competition going on.
No, absolutely.
And I say that with
with complete honesty. And this is a kind of a summary of a lot of other people have been talking to us, asking us where the podcast is. So,
and this is what an email from Dylan from the UK.
And what does Dylan say?
He says, "Hi, just wanted to say this is an amazing podcast service. I have got the app and so will download loads and listen to them on the bus on the way to school." Ah, young man.
Yes, he's a young man.
Podcasts are such a good way to get messages across, and especially in an app format. I write a monthly newsletter for my Belling Association, so going to mention this to people as it's perfect. If you are ever looking for articles or interviews with a young beekeeper, I'm always up to share some knowledge on being one. I'm a 16-year-old beekeeper from the UK with 3 hives. Wow, that's fantastic, Dylan. And, we'd love to talk to you. And, have a chat with you at some stage. So
yes,
yeah.
I've been talking to Dylan, and we are going to arrange that this year sometime. So
that's fantastic, Gary.
So that's awesome. Young beekeeper, keen, awesome. Thanks, Dylan, for listening, and we appreciate any thing you telling other people about it. It's awesome.
Yeah, and all the best with your Belling Association. So it's awesome.
Absolutely, and we got some feedback on the Facebooks. This is from Matt Barrett from Western Australia.
Oh, It's nice to see the Aussies are still talking to us.
Of course they are.
So
they even come and visit us sometimes.
That's it. So what does he say?
Okay, so I got through about 4 podcasts today on a road trip. Initially, I just laughed at the funny Kiwis, but this is really informative about current research going on in the industry. And they provide references to most of their information, which I love. And it's full of good quality beekeeping advice. Worth a listen. Oh, that's awesome, Matt. Thanks for that.
Thanks, Matt. It just makes us, pleased to hear that it is constructive stuff that we're putting through as well. And, we like to have a bit of fun because what's the point?
Exactly.
What's the point otherwise?
And Pablo from Portugal, he says, I often listen to the beekeeping podcast while opening my hives, and on some podcast episodes they put the sound of bees buzzing, and it scares me a lot because it feels like there's a bee inside the jacket of my head protection trying to sting my face. Now I'm getting used to it, but it makes me ignore real bees inside the jacket until they sting my face.
Well, that's all good, Pablo, and interesting that, that it created another sensation, so it's not only the listening, it was the mind thing going on.
The buzz in your head.
The buzz. And was that the kiwimana buzz?
Yes, thanks, Pablo.
Okay.
We appreciate all your feedback on Facebook, and it's awesome.
Yeah, Pablo and Matt and Dylan and John and Beekeeper N, thank you so much for taking time to send your feedback and comments. We really appreciate it, and it just keeps us motivated.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow, well, the bonus show is all about getting a little extra, guys. And if you're one of our patrons, then you will be getting the bonus show.
Yes, and in this week's bonus show, we're talking about bees holding on tight and goodbye to our bees. This is a story from Auckland. And the bonus show is patrons of our podcast. So thanks to all our patrons. And the bonus show will be out next week for you guys.
So awesomeness.
And the next show, and this is true, as promised to you all. We made a mistake last month and didn't release this, but it's coming out soon in a couple of weeks.
No mistakes, Gary. Just these things happen. So don't worry about it. People will be happy to hear Yappy Bee Man.
And yes, and Yappy Bee Man he's also called Travis to his family, is a beekeeper and fireman from Alabama. He is a well-known bee rescuer that is often seen on his Yappy Bee Man YouTube channel. He's also one of the founding bee hooligans on the Bee Smart podcast. So let's get a quote from Yappy.
I'll tell you what, I just hate beekeeping, Gary. I get so frustrated at it, and I feel like just quitting.
Well, you'll have to listen to the show to hear that. And if you want that show to appear auto-magically in your podcast device, please subscribe in your device or download our free application from your App Store, which is available for Android and Apple devices.
Excellent. And so a big shout out to Lydia, who is Yappy's daughter, and she just loves banana and awesomeness. So
right.
All the best, guys, and you'll love this one. It's a good one. It's very yappy, and he's worked with someone very close to our hearts as well.
Indeed. And the show notes for this podcast, with all the links to all the stories we talked about and all the fun stuff, is kiwi.bz/119. So thanks, guys, for listening, and we will be back in a couple of weeks with the Yappy Bee Man talk, as we said.
And just before we go, Gary, I'd just like to remind our listeners that preparing for your season coming up is the best way to do it in the last month of the season before. So get your gear ready, guys, over in the UK and USA. Get your gear built and get onto that, and don't be caught out.
Absolutely not. See you guys.
See ya!